very good evening to you all. And I know most of you are here because thanks to Roshan and her charisma. And looking at the young faces around, I'm sure she has mentored a lot of you. And it's good to know that because I know Roshan for almost 25 years plus now. So we are all part of the Association of British Scholars. Nusrat has been very helpful. Ruby has joined us on many of our treks. Shamim only once. He finds it too tiring. So what I'm trying to do is give you a little bit about what is the Association of British Scholars. So it's basically, people who have had some kind of a connection with the UK. Either they have gone there on fellowship or as part of the scholarship or studied there. And over the period of time, we were being nurtured by British Council once upon a time, then the High Commission, and today we are like orphans. But because of the camaraderie which exists between all of us, we are still holding together. And once in a while, we have situations where we find a reason to come together and celebrate. So today, look at this as a kind of a celebration because Roshan's earlier book also, and I'm sure most of you have seen that Tangible Justice. So that also actually we launched Association of British Scholars in High Court. And we had a little better reach that time. Now we have only reach amongst our old colleagues and friends. So thank you, Nusrat, for giving us this opportunity to bring once again Roshan to talk a little bit about her second book. And I must say right in the beginning, if you ask questions, you'll get a book of hers signed by her.
Which is out of print, by the way.
Which is out of print. So it's photocopied, don't mind it, but she'll be very happy to sign all of that, okay? And what I'll do is quickly, how many of you don't know Roshan Dalvi? Please raise your hands. So everybody knows, so I'm not reading her bio.
It's only fair.
Do I read? With your permission? Okay. So, for protocol, I know she's been a judge, not judging just the personal lives of people, but judging, commercial activities, judging, being a judge in the family court, in the high court, and all that she has done for more than 48 years. Written 2 books, and both the books are extremely good. I can tell you because I have gone through them. And this is what the book which we are going to talk about a little looks like. And today she is actually very, very busy as a mediator, arbitrator, and whatnot. But anytime I've had an issue, I have had a, something to check or talk about, she's been always available. And I think most of you sitting here will say that talking to her is going to be 48 years as a judge, 43 years married to her. Okay. And I survived. Okay. So we went to the business school together. That was XLRI Jamshedpur long time ago. And she is actually a coaching psychologist and runs her own consulting company. Prior to that, she's worked with Marico. She's worked with a couple of other companies and was the Dean of Narsimunji Institute of Management, then SPJ in Dubai, Singapore. And now she does a lot of things. And she's been also the global president of Institute of Management Consultants. So fairly, rich experience. And why we chose to really come together for the Women's Day is because it's good to, talk about reasons why, and I'm going to specifically talk about legal profession, why women are not making it to the way men make in the legal profession. And I have some statistics which I got today as a feed. This is a problem with iPhone and people are listening to you. Somewhere I must have said that, we are going to talk about it. And it has come as a feed to me, which I can share with you, which says in 2024, Delhi High Court appointed 13 women lawyers as senior counsels. Supreme Court appointed 11. And only 15% of women are today lawyers across 15 states.
Yeah.
These are statistics. And worst is, which state? Any guesses?
Maharashtra.
Well, you're not that too bad. It's UP. Only 8%. So there's a big opportunity for many of you who want to go and work in UP, I'm sure, but you have to manage the ecosystem there a little differently. But the fact remains is it's good to see, when I was walking in, very encouraging to see so many young women actually taking this as a profession. What is also required is a little bit of work-life balance for them, because that is one reason why, issues come up. So a woman lawyer should marry a women lawyer, men lawyer, just like the doctors. So they have appreciation, I think. But fact remains is that there is a huge potential, and I think many of us should really reach out to people who can make a difference as far as this profession is concerned. During my time, it was either a doctor or an engineer. Right. Okay. During my time, I could not do anything in the share market. It was called Satta Bazaar. And I was called a Juhari. So things have changed. So let's hand over to these two young women to take us through the discussions. Over to you.
Thank you, Raman. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to take 5% of the time and 95% left Roshan had, because that's where the powerhouse of information is. This book that you will hopefully receive a copy of. Can I have a copy? I'll just show it to you. Will you hopefully receive a copy of this book, which is written by her. It's Women, Her Trials and Triumphs, and Social Legal Gender Perspectives. So it's like a river of knowledge. It's like a river of knowledge. And this book, I try to carry it with me on my travels all of last week. And every time I'll open it and I say, hey, wow, there's something great here. Hey, wow, there's something great here. Hey, this is wonderful. This is fantastic. Right from the time of Mahabharata, Roshan has traced, Mahabharata, and before that Ramayana, and even perhaps in the Upanishads, she has traced the history of the status of women. And I think Ramayana was in Tretyug, which is, I don't know how many thousands of years, about 63 or 64,000 years ago. There was Ram and there was Sita, and Sita was forced to go through Agni Pariksha. And so the history goes that far. The history of women, having discrimination or being suppressed, being oppressed, or being put through some trial of some kind, or some tribulations, or being, not being permitted to do something, or whatever. So many ways of oppressing women, through violent means, through peaceful means, sometimes it's verbal means, sometimes it's women herself who inhibits herself, sometimes women will inhibit other women as well. So the history is very deeply rooted in our culture. I came across one saying, which is, it said, there's this tablet which was found. It said, oh, it's a sad world today. Politicians are corrupt. Children don't listen to their parents anymore. And women don't have a place in society. And it's an Assyrian tablet, 10th century BC. So nothing has changed. At the ground level, fundamental human relationships have not changed. I'm a psychologist. I counsel women all the time. At the fundamental level, nothing much has changed. And every time you will open her book, you will find some trial and some tribulation, and there is so much. This book is like a huge ocean of knowledge. But I don't want to keep you between, don't want to stand between me and Roshan and you. I just want to try and bring some focus over here to see what is the role of law and judiciary in bringing change in society. Some changes definitely happen. When I look at my career, I entered so many years ago, 42 years ago, I entered my career and my working life. and there were no toilets for women, and there were no women. I was the first woman, the token woman, and we've had a first woman experience, all of us, somewhere or the other. And when I look around me, there's so many women here. There's so many, even if it's 15%, but there was 0% at some time, not so long ago. So from 0 to 15, we've made progress. So some things have happened for the better. And so I'd like, and the laws that we live by today are all about 100 years old. And some of them may have had some precedent in British India and still carried forward. So I just wanted to ask Roshan the first question. What has the law done for women, particularly working women? Because, we are all corporate and professional people, particularly focusing on them. What has the law and judiciary, or they have presented?
Good evening, friends. We celebrate Women's Day. The first thing I would like to say is, let us not celebrate a day. It is not only a day of celebration, it is a day for empowerment and for introspection. We all have come a long way in this room. So I don't have to tell you what are women's rights, because you know them. However, we must remember that whilst we took all this 48 years to come to this level, when I passed my law exams in 1976, we used to shout, what are women's rights? We want this law, etc., etc. Now we've got all those laws. And we still have millions of women in our country who should be handheld. And therefore, we should resolve that we take along some 1 or 2 persons on our way. We do that in the legal profession. We have our interns, we have our juniors. We see that they come. I used to be a judge, and at all times I had interns. And I never interviewed my interns. I thought it was my duty to have interns, and they can interview me because I'm going to take a little part of their lives, and if I'm not going to teach them anything, then for what are they there? They are wasting their lives. So they should be asking me, ma'am, what are you going to do with us? Who am I to ask them what are you going to do? Because they don't know anything. And everyone wants experience, but who gives experience? Okay. So for women, absolutely no bar, just as we should have for children. You must handhold them. And of course, boys and girls come together always. When we have laws in favor of women and children. Okay, it's always there. Laws in favor of women and children. And that is our affirmative action. Now, these laws that we have had are from at least 1860. That was the first Indian Penal Code. It has got various sections of crimes where women are protected. That time, gender was not a fashionable word, and therefore we don't have a chapter on gender, but we have it interspersed in the IPC. Today, even though our government may say that we don't want the IPC and we want another IPC by another name, it's just new wine in old bottle. The bottle is the same. There are so many sections taken from here to there. Some of them relate to women, especially. Then comes our constitution. In our constitution, we have affirmative action. Now, why do we have that? Because that time, India needed that. When we had the Weimar Constitution, the Weimar Constitution in Germany, it was to be equal for all. When it was laid down in the Constitution that everything will be equal for men and women, after some time, the Supreme Court in Germany set aside all the laws without there being any petitions, which were discriminatory, because they wanted equality. But friends, equality is not enough, and we cannot have only equality in India, because you can't have unequals being treated equally. That in law is also discrimination. So we have equity. Now there is a very slight difference between equity and equality, which we must first understand to understand gender. And that is the level playing field. That is what we call power balancing. Okay? Now, if there are two children who are getting some prizes, or let us say we are two, and I'm very tiny and she is really big and nice, you may be able to see only her and not me. And when we deal with children, what do? We keep that shorter child on a stool so that he is equal. That is equity. Okay? And that is the level playing field which we must have. Our laws have given us that. For example, personal laws, laws of employment, military laws, they are all having some section and some volume of favorability to women to bring them on par. Okay? Formerly, under the Army Act, Navy Act, Air Force Act, there used to be only men who could apply. No women could apply also. Today, we have got women in combat forces. We have got women on the Sergeant Glacier. We have got an all-women brigade, everywhere in military. We have got a lawyer's firm which is all women. We have got in Ladakh a gas station which gives gas, which is all women. They supply gas cylinders to our military. So there are various strides that we have made, and therefore I've said trials and triumphs. And there are more than 100 illustrations that I learned from everywhere. And when we went to England and I studied gender, I thought that I know everything about gender. Why am I being sent by my chief justice? There's other male judges should be sent. But when I learned so many things, I thought that gender would be like so many people feel employment. How many women? But what are you giving the women who are there? You want more women, but what about this women? The quality and not the quantity that matters. And I'm not on quotas. I don't like quotas. I'm talking about merit. But I'm talking about recognition of merit. The inherent recognition that is so often lost. Okay? So we have in our employments and everywhere things which must be female friendly. That is how it is. And so we've got things on, say, creches, we've got various things on leaves, we've got transportation for women, we've got, as she says, toilets.
Yeah.
Now this toilet is a very interesting example, And I ask when I conduct these sessions for judges or lawyers and things like that, I ask them, there is an office and there is no toilet. Is it gender discriminatory? So they just look at me, toilet and gender discriminatory? Yes, it is. You know what men do outside and you know what women do not do. They need a toilet. Yeah. Now, very interestingly, in our Factories Act, right from 1948, there is a provision that if there are 10 persons in an industry and it becomes a factory, you must have one change room. So at least one change room for the women because they have to wear their uniform. Similarly, one toilet. If there is no toilet, it's gender discriminatory. But friends, we talk about this toilet, etc. for Indian settings. Please remember, everything is universal. Susan Sarandon, who has written Lean In, she says that she went to New York. She was discussing with financial consultants in New York. She found no toilet for women. And when she inquired, they said you have to go on that so-and-so floor for a woman's toilet in New York. Okay. Similarly, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has said that when she was the US Supreme Court judge, she got a complaint from one female litigant that we have come all the way from wherever, because it's the Supreme Court, so they've come from far. And my husband and I, we came early morning, sit down so that we can come to the court on time. There is no friendly women's room. It was not open, etc. And she said that when Sandra O'Connor, the first woman judge in the Supreme Court of the United States, was appointed, they had to construct one.
Actually, it reminds me of an incident that I myself witnessed. Just about a few years ago, I was attending this Wharton Women in Business program in Philadelphia. And the whole floor was full of women. There were almost 1,000 women attending that program. And during the lunch break, everyone wants to go to the toilet. And there's one women's toilet and there are 10 men's toilets over there. And the line was so long. And then I just said to the woman next to me, I said, hey, listen, why can we not go there? There are no men around. And sure enough, all the women landed up raiding the men's toilet because otherwise we'll be just standing in line forever. But you know what? Law is an integral part of social change. It's a very integral part of social change. No social movement can happen unless the law also supports the process. Laws are good laws and laws are bad laws. Now, 2024 gender pay report from World Economic Forum puts India at 129 out of 146 countries on the gender pay disparity index.
Everything about that.
About 40% gap between what men earn for the same work and what women earn for the same work. And I won't be surprised if it's in this building alone, in this very posh building also. So in 1951, the International Labour Organization enacted a ILO convention about equal pay and for equal work. India was a signatory to that in 1951, and we are today in 2025. Nothing much has changed. India enacted a law, Equal Remuneration Act, in 1976, you're right. But nobody uses that law. We don't use that law. There are no cases under that law. There's no enforcement of that law. How does the fact that we have a law actually bring the change? How does that? Where is the gap? What is missing?
Now, this law applies very fine to government servants. I was a judge and I earned just as much as any other male judge. I believe that even in the legal profession, now that I'm an arbitrator, I earn just as much as any other male arbitrator would earn. And those things are mentioned in our law, there's a schedule and that's how we earn. So it doesn't apply to all of them, but in the private sector and more so in the unorganized labor sector. We are an agricultural country, though we now have what is called agriculture culture. And the agriculture is sort of, being sort of rejuvenated in our country. The workforce is not equal. There was a very interesting case of tea planters. So these tea plantations, the women pluck the tree, the leaves, and the men take all those in a wheelbarrow out of the plantation. The men earned more and the women earned less. Now, when it was challenged, they said, but that is equal pay for equal work. This is not equal work. She is doing this and he is doing that. But if you see that, I would say that the women must earn more because they require nimble fingers to do that. It is an artistic job.
Skill.
But just taking it away is
of
not an
skill
artistic job. And they say it's different. The men are earning that way. But again, I say it is not only in that sector, not only in India. BBC commentators have gone to court and they've said that we do the same work. We are journalists. We do the same work as the male counterparts, but we are earning less, and they got relief from the court. Okay. So I have written in my book that all this is universal, and if we all go to Antarctica and settle down, all this will be even in Antarctica. But now today, it is in America, it is in England, it is in the Middle East, it is in India. So many times we feel certain things, no, we live in denial, it's not in our country and all, which is wrong. Similarly, when we think of whatever is bad, it's not only in our country, it is everywhere. And even with all this, there have been so many triumphs of women. That we must not forget, because we must appreciate even that. And I've written so many examples in that chapter on triumphs. I would like to first say that, may I?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, the success stories are what inspire
Yes,
us.
absolutely.
And it would be nice if you could support with some
Judgment.
cases, some judgments
Oh,
and some cases
So yes, so our
that
law,
have been like
I'll do
hallmark
that.
for us,
So there are not only some laws, but what we have is also subordinate legislation. Subordinate legislation are the government notifications, the government resolutions, etc., which have the force of law. Those also can be challenged in the court of law. When they are challenged, then we have what is called judge-made law. That is our precedent law. So judges interpret laws, judges make laws, judges go further than the law and interpret it, and we have that. So I can give you some of the examples. There was a very interesting case of Charu Khurana. This lady went to Hollywood and she learned makeup. She was a makeup artist. She learned that and she came back to India. When she went to Bollywood, she was told that our makeup artists are only men. So she said, my God, so she challenged it. In the challenge, the defense was that no, if we have female makeup artists, no one will go to men. But the Supreme Court said that is not the reason you don't have females also. And then they said that our hairstylists are only women. So we are not discriminatory. We are giving them this and we are giving them that. But the Supreme Court said no. There is going to be positive gender discrimination or affirmative action in favor of women and children, not in favor of men. So if you don't want hairstylists who are men, it's fine. You're not breaking the law. That's fine. But you cannot have this makeup artists who are only men. How do you like it? I really like that judgment. Okay.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And women are the ones who do their own makeup and,
Yes,
and the men are the ones who say, we don't like the makeup, take it off. I remember once in a long time ago, I used to love painting my nails, and a lot of men used to tell me, my father also tell me, why you want to paint your nails? Why you want to grow your nails? Take it off, cut it off. Why should you do this? It's not nice. But we are the ones who, anyway, so many kinds of.
So there are very many serious cases, you see, where the courts and even the laws have kind of considered women's perspectives. The perception that a woman must be either respected or cared for or whatever. There's a very interesting rule for all government servants. You cannot have 3 children if you want government accommodation. Okay. Now we all want government accommodation and we all are entitled to government accommodation of different levels, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like that. But if you have 3 children, you cannot get that accommodation. Now people have not understood that this is gender positive. You go on having children. Your wife goes on procreating children like she is milking a cow. And you go on working. So what about the physics, the physiology of the wife? That is what the law takes care of. Similarly, the law is that you cannot have 2 wives. Now, some people can, under the personal law, have 2 wives at the same time. Now, our Elon Musk has got many wives and 13 children.
No wife.
No way.
All girlfriends.
Okay, fine.
It's fine, when he gets a divorce, he doesn't have
No, 4 girlfriends, he has 14 children.
But all the people I know who have 3 children today, the first 2 are girls and they had
Yes.
the 3rd child only because they wanted a
Correct.
boy.
Correct.
And sometimes it happened to be a girl. And then they said, shall we or shall we not try for a 4th one? And then
Right.
better sense probably.
And there are times when that 4th boy turns out to be good for nothing, and the other 3 girls really do something for everything for the parents. I think they shouldn't do. They should tell them, now you never wanted us, we don't want you. But so these are the laws. These are subordinate legislations that we have. Several of them I've written about. I can't really narrate all of them because there's no time. And the Supreme Court judgments that have gone from one to another, Like there was one case of an Indian foreign service officer, and she was told that after this age, you cannot go as ambassador, etc. She challenged it. But the Attorney General in the Supreme Court realized that. And they said that we will make sort of amends and we will have this rule amended, etc. And she will be going. And the Supreme Court judgment of Justice Krishna Iyer, one of our top judges of all times, the last line is, we dismiss the petition, but not the problem. So that is how the Supreme Court has sort of, held hands with women, got them up to various levels. And that is where we all are because of all of this.
So, very interesting bit of research that I did, I want to share with you. Last year, I was the chair of the Women Empowerment Committee for Indian Society for Training and Development. And I led a study called Training Need Analysis for Women. So what is it the women need, skills that they need to empower themselves so that they can move forward and compete neck to neck with men and, be competent and, skill-based. So very interestingly, the top 2 hard skills the women reported, almost 800-900 women had responded to that, working women like you and me. The first number 1 hard skill they reported was financial literacy, because it's usually women earn money, and I'm quite sure in this room also, you give the money, the man files the tax returns. Either your brother or your father or your husband will file the tax returns. You will not file your tax returns, so you will not decide your own investments. You will not decide what you want to do with your own money. You will not buy your own properties. It all goes into a common kitty, and that's managed by men. 70% women reported that that was the case. 70% working women in senior positions hand over their money into the family kitty. They do not take financial decisions. So the financial empowerment is the key, number 1. Number 2 was what we call legal literacy. So women are not aware of the laws, inheritance laws, property laws, even employment laws, or, whatever laws that govern their everyday existence. Divorce laws also, women are not aware in India. In the US, yes, it's very clear, Melinda Gates got 50% of her husband's money. And if you want to leave your husband, you'll get 50% of the collective money, which you both earn together. And in India, it's only, I think, 25% of the husband's annual salary that goes by way of an alimony.
Not 25%, but it is not 50. It depends on various factors.
25% of the monthly salary, that's what the research has done,
Oh,
is what is a guideline. It's not a law, it's a guideline from the Supreme Court, that if your husband is earning 1,000 rupees per month, then 25%, 250 rupees will go by way of alimony, not more, not less. And that's a fraction of the cost. And we know how much women contribute to their husband's success. All the women sitting here will know how much they contribute. So the point I'm making is the legal literacy for women is a part of the empowerment journey. It's a part of the empowerment journey. So how do you feel that, the judiciary, the courts and the lawyers and the laws can contribute in bringing about legal literacy programs for women?
That has to come from within. It is on all of us. When I was a lawyer, I used to have paralegal trainings in some societies. I was called once in a company for the laborers and, their class 3, class 4, as we say. And we used to conduct various workshops where they would come and ask questions about what happens and all. And I remember saying, hearing one lady, they were saying, वो तो हमको बहुत मारते हैं, that endemic thing of domestic violence. And one lady says, अगर हम भूल करें और ये मारे तो हम समझ सकते हैं, लेकिन हम भूल ना करें और फिर भी मारे तो मैडम हम क्या करें? So we were sort of so taken aback. What do you mean? Because you make a mistake, he has to hit you, that way. So we gave them a piece of paper and a pencil. And we said, write down everything that you do during the course of the day. So they wrote, like we iron clothes, we wash vessels, we whatever, they cook food and all that. And some 11 to 14 points. Then we said, now turn the page and write whatever your husband does during the day. So some of them were staring at us, What will our husband do? He goes to work. I said, right, he goes to work. Nothing else. Okay. Then someone said, well, he sees TV. I said, right, he sees TV when he comes home. Then somebody said he talks to the neighbors in the evening.
He reads the
Okay,
newspaper.
he reads the newspaper.
When you're busy in the
that kind of
kitchen.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So one lady said that, no, but my husband takes my children to the school bus. I said, very good, write that. And somebody said that my husband irons also. My husband packs the tiffin and things like that. Then we told them, keep this paper with you. Next time your husband comes to beat you up, tell him, I do all of these things. You do only these things. Even if I make a mistake, can you hit me? In fact, I think we can make mistakes, because only people who work a lot make mistakes. No, if you don't work, you don't make mistakes. So that is the level that we have to be training,
So
So,
Our laws today are very sound and enough.
enough.
Our laws, I don't say our law is an S,
Over
but
legalized.
enforcement and interpretation may be S-like. That is what we have to think about.
Very true. I do believe that a big part of the change that is required is more in men than in women.
Yes.
Men
And
should
it is
stop giving a big slack to the woman when she makes a small mistake.
Right, absolutely.
And even if it's not a mistake, it's doubtful whether it's a mistake or not.
Right?
You still get a big jump on your head because of that. So men should learn that whatever punishment they mete out to the women must be commensurate with the crime that is there. Anyway, that's another story. But tell me, do you see in the future any kind of law or legislation that might help, men to rise to the occasion and start respecting women or start equalizing at least with them?
Again, that
There's no
comes from
equalization.
within. There are many men who are the few good men, as I would say. And
Where are they?
they are everywhere, but they are few good men.
Where are they?
So it's
They're
there.
all
Like
in the box.
for example, the laws of paternity leave. It is very well settled now in Scandinavia. It's not so much even in America. America is number 10 on that radar. The Scandinavian countries and England and all are far ahead of America, and so are we. But in a little way, we can make a difference. My steno had twins. And then he tells me that, ma'am, I want leave because, I've got twins, so I do things. I said, okay, I'll give you leave, but not to go and see a movie. Then you better do something for your child. Yes, ma'am, he did. And he went. So these little things. This is called acumen in Japanese. And it began there. That the Japanese said that both must work, both must earn, both must take care of their children. And they say, Susan has said that when we will have true equality when men do half of the things in the corporate sector and we do half, and men do half at home and we do half. But there has always been this multitasking and unitasking. We are so adept at multitasking that we want to. Sudha Murthy, their example is that when Narayan Murthy and Sudha Murthy got married, they decided amongst themselves that one of us will not work and take care of the children. But it never came to be that Narayan Murthy stayed back. One of us means everywhere it is one of us, And we do that. Please think, close your eyes and think about what your wives are doing, what your mothers have done. But Sudha said one thing. If I give up my career, I will be a good mother, but will he be a good father? This is what we always feel that, no, we don't want to leave our child to him all the time. We want to take this thing because what will happen otherwise? So for some
I
time
use
it's
my
fine.
role as a mother.
That's it. I have written a whole chapter on what happened to me when I started my practice, when I got married, when I got a child, and what I did. I did whatever I wanted to do. It may not be feminist or it may be ultra-feminist. You can be either a super mom, they say, or a working mom, or you can be a career woman. So there is a difference in all of these.
This morning I heard a term. I was facilitating a panel discussion for CII, Indian Women Network. This afternoon at 3 o'clock, and I heard a term called a helicopter mom.
Yeah.
And a helicopter mom is not one who is absent from the home and gone to work or gone traveling. She's at home, she's working, she's just hovering around, monitoring that her kids are well taken care of with staff and servants and grandparents and all. So it's a helicopter mom concept that I heard. Also this afternoon, I heard a very nice, inspiring statement from one of our speakers. And she says, you know what? If the women are assertive, they're labeled as aggressive. That she's acting too smart or she's super smart and she should, tone down. So one woman said, I don't care. If someone calls me aggressive, I don't care about that. I'm still going to assert myself. I know I'm assertive. I know I've not done anything aggressive in my life. I'm going to go ahead and do what I have to do. So that was very empowering for a lot of the people in our audience as well. Having said all this, you also said it's up to you. Twice you have said that in this conversation. I do believe that women are oppressed. Yes, that's a fact. I do believe that empowerment comes from inside. And sometimes women make small breakthroughs. And they make small things that I can go to work and that's good enough for me, or I can do this and that, and small breakthroughs where they find some independence. And sometimes they make major break. And, things like your Rani Ki Jhansi and all these wonderful, women who climb the 7 peaks of the world, all those kind of stories also come, those triumphs also come. But each one of us has our own journey. Each one of the women has our own journey for empowerment. And while the law can support, and the law does support in so many ways, ultimately the unit of change is you. Only you. And if enough of the women change, then the whole world will change. There will be a social movement. You watch that movie, Dilwale Dulhaniya. No, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun? Hum Aapke Hain Kaun? There is a song, Didi Tera Devar, and it says, Hai Ram, Kudiyon ka hai zamana. And I think the time has come where the masculine has to give way to the feminine. I think the future belongs to women. That's how I would like to see it. And if the law plays a good role in it, that will be, much easier for everybody.
I would make a little amendment. The ideal thing is when men and women work together. Now, even when you see right from the time the children, when you have boys and girls, they play together, they learn to respect one another, they learn to like one another in the very right way. The research has shown that when you have dances, for example, we have, this dandiya ras or things like that, so many of our folk dances. Then there is ballet, then there is waltz. When that is taught together to men and women, boys and girls, they learn to respect one another. The second thing is that when we are working, women think differently, men think differently. I will give you my own example of working with men judges a little later. But what happened was, you see, there was that 2007 great recession in America. And at that time, all the share prices crashed, and therefore, America comes down, everyone comes down in the world. They sat down to think why this happened when there are so many financial consultants who are such big people in the Wall Street. And the result that they found, rather the thing that they found was that everything was male-dominated, male thought. And men think only about profits. They think about how many hours, what career, how much do you work. That failed. They said that if there would have been women financial consultants, she would have thought of education. She would have thought of insurance. She would have thought of health. And this recession would not have come. Now they have what is called group think. And in that group, men and women are thinking about the financial position of America from 2008 onwards. My son is a financial consultant, and I asked him that in your firm, where are the women? How many are women? And he says, as many as men. And I saw some of his pictures, with his women friends, and there were as many. Now, let us see. I can tell you about my own example. I sit on the bench with another judge. I sit in arbitration with other co-arbitrators. I think differently, I think. I'm not saying I am only right. But I think that, why are we wasting time? We can do this in a streamlined fashion. To go all the time and, this application and that, this results and all that. It's not required. If we read our papers and come, like I tell my arbitrators, that if we read our papers and come when both the sides have given whatever they wanted to give on the paper, we can find out so many admissions. For example, we narrow down the dispute, we narrow down the issues that have to be decided, we take all the admitted documents on record. So much of work gets done. Now, this is because we also know kitchen management. We know how to use our vegetables and fruits in the fridge. So we know how to use our time. These guys don't know that. They know the law. They do it, but they do it differently. And therefore, if we are going to sit down together...
Today you are outnumbered.
We are controlling it.
Today you are outnumbered.
No, but Roshan, with your permission, can I just... I can tell you with my experience of 43 years of corporate life,
It's greed.
Greed.
You may not like it, but it's greed.
Yeah.
Or to keep postponing and have more sittings. And that's the reason why, because I've used a lot of arbitrators and 5 minutes of meeting, 10 minutes of meeting, they don't even go through the papers. First go get that. First go get that. And sorry, but I'm telling you.
The female
Yeah, that's
arbitrators don't.
In fact, I would love to hear from the audience something that may be bubbling inside you, any question, any thought, and if you're like a hot popcorn, just pop and please ask that question.
Can I ask you?
Yes, yes.
No matter how the law is changing, no matter what is happening in the world, but the persons that are together, if they're of a different consciousness, a consciousness of 18th century is in the head of a man, and the consciousness of the 22nd century is in the head of a woman.
Yes.
She's doing her race, and the other one's,
Yeah.
she's not
Agreed.
happy. She's just
Agreed.
there.
Agreed,
They are
agreed.
complicated.
So if you
That's-
see the world
So
economic,
we have to have a balance
Yeah.
in finding our equilibrium when we get together in the first place.
Yes.
And secondly, when we bring up children, we bring them up with that equality and that.
Begins
just
from
to
there.
be- to
It
be
begins there.
Just
Yeah.
an example by behavior.
Exactly.
By behavior, it's not possible because a man will not change. He doesn't change for anyone.
No,
It's
why
the
to
woman
ask him to
who
change?
makes him change because she has to change for something. Then in return, you get paid.
Agreed, agreed. So if you see the World Economic Forum, they only report gender pay gap. It's only the social gap, it's not the social and cultural gap, only the pay gap. And they've done some projections and some statistics and whatever else. They say that to get the pay gap to be less and narrow and significantly equal will take another 202 years. Another 202 years, just the pay gap. Forget the social and the cultural, and so there is some destination somewhere, but we are only part of that journey.
Pay is not everything.
Pay is not everything, but it's just an indicator.
Just one thing. Just
Just
one
an
thing. There's
indicator.
so many thousand things.
We
that
can
women
see the
think
gap has
about
changed.
Which are not related to pay. It's related to how you feel
Yes.
and how you make others feel.
So
And
the
how
empowerment has
conscious
to
you
come
are.
from within.
Huh?
Empowerment has to come from within.
Empowerment
And-
and conscious living, being considerate to the other human being. That human being has to be something that we have to learn to understand. It's not just my rights or my things, but
So that is from within. When the men begin to think. See, there are some organizations. There is He for She in the United Nations, where several men have said that we want kind of equality. We want to respect women, and we can who is working. I'm sorry. There's an Indian American who is working for the travel time for aircrafts, so that aircrafts don't come and hover around all the time. And she has made an entire plan. It's a beautiful thing that she has done in America. In India, we require it because every time I come in a night flight, all the time it's delayed, and then God knows where. Yesterday I came in a night flight, they dropped us God knows where, and then the bus brought us to the T2 station. So, there are very many things like that. There are women who have had endurance tests. There are women who have gone to Antarctica, and she's an Indian British lady. Chandi is her name, something Chandi. And she has kept in touch with her British people. And then there is that Tarini, where 6 women have gone around the world. So all of these things are happening. In COVID, that one lady took a cycle and brought her old father from Gurgaon to that Bihar thing, She did that. They are making a film on her, and then she says, now I want to study and I don't want to get into films. Then there was one lady who went on a marathon for raising money for her sick husband. She ran the marathon on bathroom slippers and a sari because she didn't have anybody else. But she had that grit. Then there is one lady in Kerala who is supposed to have made rice revolution. So she took 1 acre of land for everyone and gave it to women, and they are cultivating rice, and now it has grown into a big time business. Then there is one lady a scientist who is making trees out of test tubes. There is one lady called the Queen of Transmission Towers. Now, what she does is she climbs up the transmission towers to repair them. And first she was booed out. She was sort of, they made fun of her, and now they call her the Queen of Transmission Towers. Then in
Wow.
COVID, there was a coconut person, the one who takes out the coconuts. The daughter, who was an engineer, thought that this is not the right way of doing it. She had the time. She made various implements for her father, and now they both go. And the output is much more. So there are n number of triumphs, and we really
You know, the triumphs don't have to be big ones also. They can be small ones
Small
also.
triumphs.
So suppose the husband is constantly used to putting you down, and you feel you come under pressure, and you feel bad, and you feel hurt, and you feel sorrowful. Hey, why did my husband say shut up to me? Or why did my husband do that to me? Or why did my this? So when you are able to rise above that, that is also a triumph. When you don't come under that pressure, that is also a triumph. When you look at women, other women on the table, you try to support another woman, that is also a triumph. Yeah. You know, and in CII, IWN, we often talk about the sisterhood of women. You know, and we always say that there is a place in heaven for a woman who supports another woman. There is a place in heaven for a woman who supports another woman. And one of the girls I was counseling, she spoke about how, you know, and everybody has had this experience, by the way. In a conference room, meeting is going on, a woman comes up with an idea and she places it on the table, and it is no. Everything is no for him. And then 5 minutes later, the man comes up with the same idea and presents it as his own. It's my initiative. I have done this. Okay. Now, what do you do in that kind of a situation? In a corporate world, if she says, hey, that was my idea, you stole it from me. Well, look at you. What's your problem? Okay, it will backfire on her. It will backfire on her completely. And politically, she'll get the raw end of it. So we call it a sisterhood of women, because when we observe things like this happening, she cannot speak up because it will backfire on her. But there's another woman in the room, and I have a pact with her. She will say, hey, you know, that was the idea Aneeta suggested. Aneeta, what did you have to say about it? Say something more. So in CII, we often talk about sisterhood of women, how women can support other women. Because sometimes, you know, given the pecking order, men are at the top of the pecking order, women are at the bottom. Given the pecking order, we are unable to express and fight that pecking order, but another woman, combined us, we can definitely make a difference.
Can I say something?
Yes, sure.
I want to share about something new that we are seeing. It's called Dabba Cartel. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's one of the most
On
amazing
Netflix.
serials
On Netflix.
where all the women are in the main roles and they're all in gray areas. They're doing a ganja trading and putting it through dabbas, you know, tiffins. And the police is also a woman who is investigating it. And the writer is Farhan Akhtar's wife, you know, and she is, we yesterday saw an interview of all the people who are on that show. And she said that I wanted to represent women also as could be in the gray area, you know, and she asked them, she says, who would like to take a role of, there's one girl who's an ayah actually, who goes to different people's house, and she's the main person who's delivering the tiffins, and they get into drugs and, you know, heavier things, and they're even going to have a season 2 of it, you know, and the other characters are just 1 or 2 of them, but all are women. So even women are even stepping into the gray areas, and somebody is bold enough to write about it. So you will see new things. I'm sure it will open the eyes of many of the men also.
Alia Bhatt got the Best Actress award for that.
This is
But do you know what?
Cartel.
Alia Bhatt
I've seen it.
charges 1.5 crore or 2 crores for a movie. And in the same movie, she was with Ranveer Singh. That movie, what was it? Bunty or some Raja Rani Ki Shadi or something like that. There was a movie. The man got 10 crores. And the movie she was carrying that entire movie and that character completely forward. She got only 2 crores. Why did he get 10 crores?
And this happens in Hollywood also, not only in Bollywood.
So yes, while she portrayed Gangubai, she got 1/5 the salary that was due to her.
She got the best actress award.
But she was the best actress. She wasn't a good actress.
But that still doesn't justify why she was paid less.
No.
Still doesn't justify why she was paid
Yeah,
less.
I think the whole idea which is coming forward is very
It
simple.
starts getting defensive.
Somebody has to support us.
I thought I was in the lawyers firm. Lawyers will do it, but if lawyers don't do it, then I have to.
Law firm, and there's so many legals here. I believe one thing, solutions come not through law and debates. Solution comes through discussions. A debate means we just get polarized. And we start attacking and defending, and we get polarized, speaking for the proposition, against the proposition, for the defendant, against the defendant, and whatever else. But if we discuss and we come to what is the common ground, that's where arbitration, I think, comes in. Look at what's the mediation, arbitration comes in. What's the common ground we have? Can we have some kind of things that we can do which don't polarize us? I think that's the way forward.
See, there is what is called a Wranglers and Stranglers Club in Wisconsin University. Now, this is in the literary section of the university. They discuss their books which are coming out, whatever research that they are doing and they are going to write and all men and women, the students. So, when they discuss, the men are called stranglers because they strangle you. No, this is right, whatever. The women are wranglers. They wrangle about. They discuss and deliberate. So that is the difference. So this club is called the Wranglers and Stranglers.
So when I was in college, Wranglers was a brand of jeans we used to wear.
Even now.
Still no strangler. I think.
So much.
I think. See, we said 7 to 8, so we'll close at 8. That doesn't mean you have to rush out. You still can have dialogue, but officially we'll close now. And may I request Nusrat to just do the honors and give them the bouquet of flowers as thank you.
Thank you very much.
So anybody has any other questions? Now it's officially closed. Okay. Recording has stopped. But please feel free to, because idea is if anybody has any urgent work to go and want to go, please feel free. But the dialogue continues. The dialogue.
Yeah, I have a question, if I may. Good evening, ma'am, and thank you so much. And as always, it's been a wonderful session. Both of you, thank you. And like you, two of the things I really found very insightful and thoughtful, which I'll carry with me. One is I feel as a mother, it's my greatest responsibility, especially as a mother of a son, that he grows up respecting women. Correct. So my question was, how do I, what exactly can be the proper steps to do it? Because today's generation is a thoughtful generation, is a reasoning generation. It's basically swimming in AI now, and you cannot just stamp it down and no, this is just not. Because I am a faculty for cybercrime law. I can reason and talk with him about it, but I can tell him the pros and cons. But still, I cannot stop him from, this is just an example, from not using AI or just being fascinated by it. So I have to reason. But many times you find your dichotomy where you are working as a career woman. You need to give quality time to your career. You want to learn more. I'll give you a simple example. Today I'm here at this time, which I may be, sharing with him because he's still giving his final exams in his school. But still, I prefer being here because I want to grow. I want to be part of discussions. And many a times you find yourself that, you know, you need to choose between the quality time you need to give your children to be physically present so that they grow up and they are developed in a certain good way so that they grow up. And because that's what we talk about, we always say it is the attitude of the society more rather than changing laws, rules. It's the attitude. So if we need good attitude, we need better citizens, we need better thinking people. So how do you do that? I mean, how is your experience? Did you really have to choose all the time, or is the similar kind of thoughts? How is it? Please share.
See, before my experience, I'll tell you about the Irish Constitution. Article 41 of the Irish Constitution grants separate sort of protection, and we could say a package, some kind of money to women for family, because they want to maintain their family life. Now, this is very unique. It's not in any other constitution. In the German constitution, it's all only equal. Everyone is equal, and no matter what, because that is that society. And as I told you, for us, there is affirmative action. This is the law. But as we go along, we always feel like Sudha Murthy had felt. All of us women feel that. So we have different ways. And so many of us, and I for one, had my husband supporting me, had my sister supporting me, had my parents supporting me. So it makes a whole difference because we have a family system. Okay? That way it is. But I say that right from the beginning, this kind of things in the house, that you must respect your mother. The father says, goes a long way. Mother's presence is better than mother's presence. Yeah? A present that you give your child. That's no compare. And I would say, if they say beti padhao, beti bachao, I say beta padhao, beti bachao. Because if you are going to teach your son the right principles, you are going to naturally save all daughters. It's like that. Now, my son's friend told me in New York that we were sitting with Farad and all. And then there was somebody at the table who was kind of bearing down upon a woman. And Farad got up and went there and said, don't treat her like this. I really felt happy and proud. He is a financial consultant and he's a corporate investor consultant. So for corporate investments are big clients. But he said that he had sometimes, at one time, this domestically violated women who want to know how to invest. So they were referred to him. So he said, my friend, my colleague would be better placed to do that because he does social security and all that. I don't do that. I do corporate investments. But I just told them about investments and I thought that she said that it is so good. So I said, very nice. One way of going. And I'm sure that he thought that when I am saying that there should be that kind of equality and they deserve it, he thought that others would also deserve it. And it goes, each one of us can do it ourselves, and we make a society.
But you know what? I do feel that in this whole man-woman equation, when the man tries to oppress a woman, who's the loser? It's the man. He lost an opportunity for a meaningful dialogue. He lost an opportunity for love. He lost an opportunity for caring and compassion.
But
because
they don't realize that.
they don't realize. So no, it's not my job to make them realize. They live their only lonely lives then,
At ABS, we believe in equality. I know I said I'll give it only to people who ask questions, but we got a book for everyone.
Thank you. That's all nice about this.
And you've got to be beholden.
Like she said, I
Can you get it
practice in
signed?
matrimonial
Where's
cases.
the-
I
for the
handle
homework?
divorce cases. So at times
Yeah.
we get clients,
I'll get-
where, the children are the replica of
I get it.
parenting.
Yeah.
Yes. If, I had one client, he just said कि मेरी वाइफ ने divorce file किया है.
To
तो मैंने
Rashmi
दो
and
थप्पड़ी तो मारा है, उसमें क्या हुआ?
what's the name?
It's
Rashmi and
just related to that name,
Yeah.
थप्पड़.
I know.
दो थप्पड़ मारे,
Then later on-
divorce file किया.
Can I get
मेरी
that?
mom तो इतने साल से मैं बचपन से देखता
Take a
हूँ, slapping, my father is slapping
Take it
and
from my-
so basically the child is how you behave in your environment is more important to what you teach to your children.
Because you remember there was one ad where Madhuri Dixit was, promoting no violence ad, where, it was just showing ki, beta rota nahi hai, ladka rota nahi hai, beta rota nahi hai. Then,
Yes,
in the
I
end
remember
of the
that.
ad, it was shown that हमें सिखाना है कि बेटे रुलाते नहीं है.
But
That's
you
in
know,
the
there
book.
is a very nice film on Netflix today. It's called It Stops With Us.
Yes.
It Stops With Us. Those of you who have seen that movie, it's a picture of domestic violence. A woman and husband lived with domestic violence for many years. And the daughter, when she goes out, she finds a lovely guy who loves her so much and she marries him, but he also starts beating her up. And she realizes she's got into the same trap that her mother had.
Yes.
And then you must, don't want to reveal the ending of that movie, but do watch that movie. It is an eye-opener. That it has to stop somewhere. And if everyone in this room says that, look, that abuse has to stop with me, and then the succeeding generations will pick up more equalized relationships.
Every cases where it's referred to us, this is what the common things we see. Well, okay, this we have seen since our childhood. So what is your problem to make that thing? So it begins from our house, how we behave with each other as a husband and wife, or as a father and mother, or how we treat our elders. Like today, you're taking property in your name, and then you're leaving your parents to aged home. That same thing your children are also seeing now. So for them it is a pattern which they are going to follow. Your
family values continue. You may say the right things, but whatever was the practice values, those are the ones that will live on.
As they say, children learn by what you do rather than by what you say.
Exactly.
Or what they see.
Yeah, that's what they said. Now they are our replica. So today, what we do, it's like it's a permanent impression which is there in their mind.
The Weinstein case in the US, Weinstein case.
Yes, Weinstein case. Because this US, this Weinstein case is that there was a law in US that if you take care of your aged parents, then you get tax rebate for the amount that you have spent for them. Okay. Now this was given and applicable to women, divorces, widows, married women, divorces, widows, widowers, and that's all. Not to bachelors. Now this was a man who lived with his mother. He kept his mother in the house and he cared for his mother. And he wanted the tax rebate. He was not given. And this was a one-page petition. So the men lawyers here, or even female lawyers who write those big briefs, 10,000 pages and call it a brief. He wrote one page. If I was a dutiful daughter rather than a dutiful son, I would have got tax rebate. This doesn't make sense. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg set aside that government rule and gave that tax rebate to everyone. So equality. That was a very good case.
I thought
She was talking of the Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, Weinstein case. Okay. This is Weinsberg. I'm sorry. That Weinstein case is really the very first one for me too. And there are many such cases. But you see, one thing we must remember is when we have this sexual harassment, we have to tread carefully. Because again, like rape, again, like domestic violence, it is word against word. But when there are so many women who come out and say the same thing, then it doesn't ring false. So therefore, he got the punishment that he did. Then there is that Espian's case, Jeffrey Espian, and his partner, married somebody, who used to traffic girls. So many of them, and then all that is coming out. When I was in England, I came across a case.
Mohammed Al-Fayed. Al-Fayed, the Arizona.
Oh yes, Arizona. Yes.
There are Netflix films on all of that.
Okay. When I was in England,
So is there I'm to say it's very well documented now. And it's very good because that's how people realize that what the end can be. So sometimes it is recommended that watch it, to see.
So some things have changed, when people like Harvey Weinstein, in the 70s and 80s, it was a, very hippie kind of time, and casual sex was okay, and some of it was abusive. We didn't know what the boundaries were between abusive sex and non-abusive sex and respectful sex. We didn't know that. It was very unconsciously engaged in. Today, that unconscious is becoming conscious. Today, we are becoming more aware. And it's a good thing, because so many times, so much of violence happens as a matter of unconscious bias. And it happens without knowing. I said something to a lady, and I didn't really mean it that way, or I wasn't even aware that I did something or said something. But now, having become conscious of it, I now know the difference. So I think now the time has come to be more conscious and be more aware, and act with that consciousness. So the unconscious biases will keep surfacing. Unconscious discriminations will keep surfacing. And the more they become conscious in society, maybe more laws, maybe more codes of conduct, maybe more legislations, more conventions, more constitutional amendments, the more they become
power. Spending power, so you see the power.
More are coming.
Yeah. Einstein is a very powerful person.
Yes.
In India, too, I'm sure, he's very power. He's the power for this kind of thing.
True. True. And there was a time it was acceptable, but now it's not. And same women who were there then, realized that they were abused. So now they're conscious of it. They were not conscious at that time. And that's okay. So this thing will continue to happen till such time the whole society has been cleansed of this discrimination. That's the aim. We are only a part of the journey. And International Women's Day is one day where we create a ripple. And that ripple, many, many ripples put together create tsunamis. And then eventually, maybe, who knows, women will be equal. That's the hope. It's the journey that's more important, and the progress we make along the way rather than destinations.
If some of you are wondering why.
Navigate. It's a navigation. It's not just this way or that way.
Yes.
It's a lot of navigation.
It's a journey.
So I was just saying, some of you are wondering why there is no book which she's signing and why a photocopy. The book did so well that it's not available now. So, we said, no, what do we do? Either we show you the book or give you a book.
There is an e-book on Amazon which is available. It's the same picture. Don't go on Amazon.com. They charge you in dollars. Go on Amazon.in. It is cheaper.
I just have a query actually from your experience, like you mentioned that in the corporate world, lady you were consulting, and the advice or the nurturing done from your side was like in a meeting room, generally whatever a woman puts in is not approved, but when a guy mentions it, it is picked up.
Yes.
And actually, there will be scenarios or a lot of times only one lady would be there in a meeting where the rest of them would be the guy. So I think if that change comes in the guy's mindset, where irrespective of the gender, if they start accepting it as just a point and work on it, that will be better. So one thing, two things, like one was, are there efforts being made consciously on the leadership side to have this kind of acceptance? And second was, you said the priorities from the woman was the financial awareness or freedom, I would say, and the legal. Yes. So from the working side, I would say, are there any corporates which you have come across where conscious efforts are taken to bring in the legal awareness? So that's what I wanted to know.
Wide canvas of answers. I'll try to be as brief, as possible. First of all, it's not necessarily a woman has to support another woman. You can find male allies also in your team, in your group, in your thing, and you can have such people also standing up for you whenever it's required. That's number one. Number two, what are corporates doing? Yes, a lot of training is happening. Lot of training is happening on financial literacy for women. The Reserve Bank of India has an initiative, financial literacy for women. They're going to the rural areas. They're going to small places when they're empowering women with bank accounts, bank loans, and teaching them how to conduct financial transactions, small self-help groups. A lot of work is getting done in financial literacy. In legal literacy, I'm not sure. There's not much happening, but I'm quite sure it will happen sooner or later.
There's a lot happening.
Corporates have, almost every corporate has a DEI program and, diversity, equity and inclusion program. Now the shift is happening from DE&I to what we are calling psychological safety for women. So psychological safety means how do I provide a culture where women feel free to express and not fearful to express. And not just women, but men and women, everybody. There are bosses, there are hierarchies, and sometimes there's anger and there's pecking orders, and people misusing authority, and all kinds of ill things happen. So how do we provide an ambience of psychological safety so that people, men and women, can feel free to express and speak up about what they are feeling and the ideas they may have and achieve whatever potential they may carry within them. So legal literacy, maybe Roshan has something to say because
there is.
Yes.
There is a District Legal Services Authority, DSLA, under the District Legal Service Authorities Act. And they conduct various programs for women inclusion, for women's safety, for women's rights and things like that. And they are more kind of protective rather than empowering actually, because we are still at that stage. So they do it for various kinds of women who have been on the receiving end. That's what is done.
I would like to add something to that. I'm from a teaching profession, and there is now in all colleges and schools compulsory to have these committees. We have internal complaints committee called ICE.
That's under the law.
We are supposed to have certain activities. We work with MAVA, we work with various other associations where girls and boys together, they are taught how to respect women, different laws, financial literacy is being made compulsory to all the students now, and government is giving us manpower, and it is compulsory to organize financial literacy programs for all the students. So there is a lot of work going on. It's compulsory to have those POSH and POSCO acts and the things written in our colleges everywhere. There have to be posters at the entrance. There is a committee who's looking after that. The names and support helpline names have to be at the entrance. That's the rule, and it's followed everywhere. In all accreditations, there are marks given for what is your gender parity, what you are doing for gender equality, and if not, your marks are lost. So there are people who are now taking care that you are including more women.
And this is the rule under POSH Act, under the
somewhere the ripples of change are happening. Somewhere the ripples of change are happening.
We have had great strides. So far as we are concerned, we are absolutely now sort of clear of everything, you and I. But of course, there are millions of our country people who are not. We have to work.
Yes, definitely.
We have to continue.
So the battle continues.
I wanted to ask you a question about leadership role. Right now, we know the percentage of women representing as a leader is very less. Maybe it's happening, but the growth is not that high. I have a question to put to you is, sometimes when women are very aggressive, so people say she is a very aggressive woman, she can't be a leader. Or there is a scenario where a woman, if she shows her emotions, then people think she is very emotional, she can't be a leader. When vice versa, when men is very aggressive, he is very appreciated and he is seen as a leader. So in such a scenario, how should we
overcome this?
Yes, overcome this and change others' mindset. How do we represent ourselves, telling others that our emotions and our aggression is not different from what theirs is?
Continue to be aggressive. Continue to be emotional.
Doesn't matter what the world says to you.
You don't need to
In
prove
the,
it.
continue to be aggressive, continue to be emotional. That's my advice to you.
I think you should be yourself.
Men can be aggressive and get away with it. Why not women?
I've written about this IQ and EQ also in the book, and what happens and how this plays out. For example, Larry Summers in America, he said that women don't know how to charge. He told his wife, "Bill like a boy." No? His wife is an economist also. She was working, she had her own firm, etc. And he thought that she did not bill enough. He says, "Bill like a boy." Bill.
Voice.
Like a boy.
Yeah, women don't negotiate their salaries. They don't negotiate with their they don't negotiate.
And forget negotiation. You see, the real hard reality is, let us say, the transfer policy in banks and government institutions and all that. If you are to be promoted, you will be transferred. Okay? So a woman actually gives up her promotions because her children are there. They are taking admission. A man doesn't do that. He goes off and his wife follows him, or now she doesn't follow him sometimes. It's like that. Similarly, now this is for transfer. What happened amongst the judges, I'll tell you. These are two very striking cases where I spoke up. Now, as judges from various districts and talukas, when we appoint them, we transfer them to various places, but we don't depute them or transfer them to the place from where they have come. Because in Bombay, nobody knows anybody. Nobody knows when I'm walking on the street that I'm a High Court judge. But in districts, people know one another. So therefore, they don't sort of put them in there. Now, when a man is married and a woman judge is also married, then they are not posted in the place from where they are born and where they come, and also in the place where they reside. Okay? Now, so far as the man is concerned, he doesn't mind anywhere. He'll go here there. But for a woman, what happens is that she comes from a district and her husband is in another district. She gets posting there. Her children are with her mother-in-law and father-in-law in that house. So you tell her you can't get a posting here also, you can't get a posting where your parents are also. Where will the children go? Now, is this gender equal? Is this gender discrimination? I said it is. We had got this rule. And I said you can have it for the men. But when a woman marries and comes to another district, nobody knows her. And she doesn't know anyone. Then let her be with her children. You see? Then there is this thing about, we appoint on probation. And it's for 1 year. So you have to give X number of judgments, qualitative, quantitative, everything is seen to confirm you as a judge. So for men, 12 months is fine. But at the time we are appointing at the lowest level, the magistrates and the junior division judges, they are fresh from college. They have had 3 years of experience and they come for their interview. Or if they've got a first class, then directly they can be appointed. That is our rule. So they are very young people. They get appointed, they are now well settled, they get married, the woman gets the child, the man also gets the child, of course, but the woman really gets the child, and she cannot work. She goes on her maternity leave, which is her legal right. Now what happens is that in that 1 year period, she may be having her maternity leave, so she gives, let us say, 9 months or so, her judgments are fewer, her seniority goes down. Now, is that fair? So what I said is, you give her 3 more months and then take the average. Or you take the average of the first 9 months and give her, so that she gets her seniority. And if she is given those 3 more months, then the seniority must revert back. That doesn't happen otherwise. And that is what we are saying should be the level playing field. No use only saying all the time, this representation is not enough, this is so many percent and there are so many people and all that. What is the quality behind that? That
is being followed now or not yet?
It is being followed in Maharashtra.
Not
Bombay
in
High
India.
Court.
Not in
I can't say. I don't know.
Any more hot popcorns?
One for Roshan actually.
Yes.
So what I was thinking was particularly for women and children's crimes. Now we all know that men are wired differently and the women are wired differently. So from the judges side or in the legal system, are there efforts taken, or is it already a given thing that a group or a mixed group is there to have that conversations or discussions and the ruling is given based on that? Or if a male judge is there, then whether efforts are taken so that that person is trained enough to look at things in a better manner, I would say.
See, we train our judges. We have got a National Judicial Academy in Bhopal. We have got state judicial academies in all the states. I go also to train them. But we cannot tell a judge at the time he is sitting in judgment that, this is how it should be or anything like that. So whatever that is his training, it comes out. Now, there was a case just some time back that there was a 14-year-old girl who went to some district for a marriage of her sister or somebody. She had a boyfriend there. She stayed back. She didn't come back home. And the parents have filed a case of rape. There are n number of cases like that, thousands and thousands of cases like that. Now they call it rape, but this is not rape. This is statutory rape. So in my book, what I have written is that there is statutory rape and there is what I have put in inverted commas, real rape. Now when there is real rape, there's a lot of trauma, etc., etc. And the girl sort of, is really traumatized. But when you say that there is a statutory rape because she was 14 years old and she went and lived with her boy, she was not traumatized. The judge says that there was consent because she went and she stayed. So therefore release him on bail, which is a very fair judgment. Now the women's rights, Bajlis and all of them have risen up. Oh, what nonsense, we are going 2 steps behind when we have gone 1 step ahead. But it's not so. Because I always say that when we are going to take these kind of mild cases of young lovers as rape, we are actually having no time to take up the cases of rape.
Yes.
You see, that is what happened. Even for child sexual abuse in Chandigarh, one judge reported to us in our workshop that she had actually 1 case of child sexual abuse. Everything else was, love affair, this, that, whatever. And everything is put under POXO because it is under that age. It's a girl, under 18, and therefore it goes to the POXO court. So we've got a hodgepodge of this. And I have myself recommended that these cases must be set separately so that you have time to take up the real rape cases first, everywhere. But that is not done yet. And of course, we can't tell a judge anything at the time he is judging. We have to train him before he is judging. Otherwise, it is indoctrination.
Judgment of cases, is it one judge only assigned to a case, or there is a group of that?
No, not group. There is first a single judge, then there is a division bench, and then there is a Supreme Court. This is the 3-tier system.
Enough food for thoughts. Can you say good night? Thank you very much. Thank you. And we must say thanks a lot to Neha.
Yeah.
Food was good.
Yeah.
No, at the end of the food is good. Everything.
Is this nice?
Yeah. So, thank you very much for being with us today. And thank you, Roshan, and thank you, Aneeta, once again. And thank you all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.